You know what gets me every single morning? You wake up, pour a cup of coffee feeling halfway decent about the day, and then reality hits. You have to do the exhausting daily procedure. The ritual of the finger prick. Staring at that tiny drop of blood, holding your breath to see if the number dictates what you're allowed to eat today. And then comes the breakfast struggle, a restrictive plate of plain eggs and fear. You've given up the bread, you avoid the fruit, you follow every single modern medical rule to the letter, and yet the numbers still creep up. It feels like you're constantly fighting a losing battle against your own body. Every meal feels like a minefield. And every season it feels like you're fighting the exact same war, depriving yourself more and more, and somehow you are still losing ground to your own metabolism. But here is what caught my attention a few years back. I started looking into Okinawa, Japan. For over 400 years, the elders on these islands have been living remarkably long, vibrant lives, and they have done it completely free of type 2 diabetes. While Western seniors are declining, managing a cabinet full of prescriptions, Okinawan octogenarians are working in their gardens, full of energy, with pristine blood sugar levels. I'm looking at their daily plates, piled high with carbohydrates, and I'm thinking, what do they know that our medical system missed for decades? Today I'm going to walk you through exactly what they do and how you can copy their exact dietary framework in your own kitchen. And stick around to the very end because I'm going to share a bizarre, my highly specific cooking hack that absolutely no modern diet book talks about. I'll be entirely honest with you. When I first started researching how Okinawan elders handle their blood sugar, I was highly skeptical. I've read all the modern literature. I've seen the grueling fasting protocols, the zero-carb fads, and the expensive cinnamon supplements. I figured if there was a better way to handle insulin resistance, we would have found it by now. But here is the biological paradigm shift that changes absolutely everything. Our modern Western diet, even the healthy versions of it, keeps our body's growth and store switch permanently stuck in the on position. We are constantly forcing our cells to deal with an influx of heavy, processed energy, which directly leads to insulin resistance. The cells just lock the door. The Okinawans don't do that. Their traditional diet naturally flips that biological switch over to repair and clean. They aren't constantly managing a disease after it shows up. They designed a daily routine that creates a cellular environment where the disease simply cannot develop in the first place. It's not about fighting your body when you can let your body's natural biology do the fighting for you. The first thing Okinawan elders understand is that blood sugar control starts with the foundation of the plate. For generations, nearly 70% of their daily calories have come from one specific, vibrant source, the purple Okinawa sweet potato. Now, I know exactly what you were thinking. A potato? For a diabetic, this is where most of us get it completely wrong, myself included, for a very long time. We look at a standard white potato or a thick slice of processed white bread, and we know instantly that means an immediate, dangerous blood sugar spike. Those foods have a glycemic index that sends your glucose soaring like a rocket. But the Okinawan sweet potato is fundamentally different. It has a shockingly low glycemic index. Here's the fascinating science behind it. That deep, rich, purple color is not just for show. It is absolutely packed with powerful chemical compounds called anthocyanins. University researchers and peer-reviewed metabolic studies have shown that anthocyanins actively slow down the digestion of carbohydrates in your gut. They literally inhibit the digestive enzymes that break down starches into simple sugars. So instead of a massive, overwhelming glucose dump into your bloodstream all at once, you get a slow, steady, manageable trickle of energy over several hours. It is not island folklore, it is pure, proven chemistry. You do not have to frantically fight a massive sugar spike when the food itself prevents the spike from ever happening in the first place. This next step is where the traditional Okinawan approach really starts to look radically different from a conventional diet. And honestly, where it is the part that surprised me the absolute most. Modern diet culture screams at us constantly to eat massive amounts of protein and absolutely zero carbs. But the historic Okinawan diet is almost the exact opposite. They thrive on an incredible 85/9/6 ratio. That means 85% carbohydrates, 9% protein, and just 6% fat. It sounds completely backward to everything we have been taught, doesn't it? But here is why it works beautifully. They focus entirely on the quality of the protein, not the sheer quantity. When you constantly overload your body with heavy processed fats and excess animal proteins, it literally clogs up your cells. Think of your cell like a door, and insulin is the key. The modern Western diet gums up that lock with fat. The insulin key simply cannot fit, so the sugar stays trapped in your blood. The low-fat, high-fiber Okinawan ratio acts like a biological solvent. It gently cleans the lock. Suddenly, the insulin key turns smoothly again, the cell door opens wide, and your blood sugar drops naturally. This third step is one that I completely overlooked for most of my adult life. We spend all this exhausting energy agonizing over exactly what to eat, and we completely forget to pay attention to how we eat. The elders in Okinawa do not make that mistake. Before every single meal, they repeat a simple, ancient phrase out loud, hara hachi bu. It roughly translates to eat until you are 80% full. It is not a strict mathematical rule or a calorie-counting nightmare. It is a psychological habit that triggers a massive physiological benefit. By deliberately stopping before they are completely stuffed, they create a crucial metabolic gap. When you eat until your stomach is stretched to its absolute limit, you overwhelm your system, forcing it to process a massive, chaotic load of glucose all at once. Hara Hachibu beautifully prevents that overload. It gives your digestive tract the necessary space and time to process food slowly and efficiently. It allows your blood sugar to gently stabilize rather than violently swinging up and crashing down. It is a practical wisdom passed down through generations. You simply surrender the need to be completely stuffed, and your metabolism finds its healthy balance. Let me share something crucial I've noticed over the years, and it is the one that frustrates me the most. We spend an absolute fortune treating the symptoms while completely ignoring the soil of our own health. Think about the staggering monthly cost of insulin, the endless co-pays for modern pharmaceuticals, and those overpriced, heavily processed, diabetic-friendly packaged foods. You are paying hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars to simply manage a steady decline. But an Okinawan elder eating their traditional diet spends maybe $2 a day. It is practically free. The modern medical and food industries do not want you to know this because they profit massively from our reactionary approach. They wait for your blood sugar to explode, and then they sell you the expensive synthetic Band-Aid to keep you trapped in the cycle. The Okinawan way does not require a costly monthly subscription. It just requires a shift in perspective. So, what do you do with all this? How do you actually take this 400-year-old wisdom from a remote Japanese island and make it work in your own modern Western kitchen? You do not need to pack up and move across the globe, and it certainly does not mean eating food you despise. It comes down to 3 highly actionable, practical shifts that you can start making by your very next dinner. The first shift is swapping out your biological foundation. I want you to look closely at your dinner plate tonight. If your main source of energy is a pile of instant white rice, a massive baked russet potato, or a serving of processed pasta, you're essentially setting yourself up for that inevitable, exhausting glucose roller coaster. Instead, swap that out. Find the purple Okinawan sweet potatoes at your local market, or even standard orange yams if the purple ones are hard to track down in your area. Make that vibrant root vegetable your anchor. When you transition your primary carbohydrate from something that rapidly breaks down into pure sugar to a complex anthocyanin-rich food, you completely alter your body's baseline. You stop the spike before the food even leaves your stomach. The second shift is adjusting your ratios without agonizing over the math. You absolutely do not need a food scale or a calculator at the dinner table. Just look at the visual real estate of your plate. We are so conditioned to having a massive slab of meat taking up the center with a tiny, sad scoop of vegetables pushed to the far edge. Flip that entirely. Make the sweet potato and vibrant, fiber-dense vegetables take up 80% of the space. Treat your meat, a high-quality piece of chicken, fish, or tofu, as a side dish. A flavor enhancer, really. This simple visual swap automatically drops your heavy fat intake and drastically increases your fiber. It acts like that biological solvent we talked about, gently cleaning out your cells and allowing your insulin to actually do its job efficiently. This third shift is the bizarre cooking hack I promised you at the very beginning, and it is an absolute game changer that most modern diet books completely overlook. It is not just about what you cook. It is about how you let it rest. When you bake or boil your sweet potatoes, do not eat them right away while they are piping hot. Instead, cook a large batch the night before and place them in the refrigerator to cool completely overnight. Here is the fascinating science behind why this matters so much. When a starchy vegetable cools down, its internal chemical structure actually changes. It undergoes a natural process that creates something called resistant starch. This means the starches literally resist digestion in your small intestine. Instead of breaking down quickly into glucose and flooding your bloodstream, this resistant starch travels all the way to your lower gut, where it acts as a powerful prebiotic, feeding up the beneficial bacteria that regulate your metabolism. By simply cooling the potato in the fridge overnight, you drastically lower its glycemic impact. You can eat it cold the next day in a salad or gently reheat it, and it will still retain those incredible blood sugar blunting properties. It is the kind of quiet, simple, practical wisdom that does not make flashy health headlines, but it saves your metabolism one single meal at a time. You are no longer just rigidly surviving your diet. You are actively taking control and rebuilding your cellular health. Let me share some patterns I've noticed when people first try to adopt this ancient Okinawan approach. These are the common traps that will completely cancel out the benefits. All right, no judgment here. I made these exact same mistakes myself when I first transitioned my diet. The first pattern is smothering the solution in the problem. You bake this beautiful purple anthocyanin-rich sweet potato, and then what do most of us do? We treat it like a traditional Western side dish. We load it up with heavy butter, dollops of sour cream. Or worse, we slice it up and deep fry it in highly processed seed oils. When you do that, you are immediately destroying that delicate nutritional ratio we just talked about. You are taking that biological solvent and pouring toxic sludge right back over it. You are instantly gumming up the cellular lock with heavy fats before the insulin key even has a chance to turn. To get the true Okinawan benefits, you have to let the sweet potato stand on its own, lightly steamed or baked. Perhaps with a tiny dash of salt or fresh herbs. The second pattern is treating the sweet potato like a magic eraser. I see this happen all the time. Someone will eat a massive, highly processed Western meal, a huge cut of fatty meat, a sugary drink, maybe a piece of processed bread, and then add a side of Okinawan sweet potato, genuinely thinking the good starches will somehow cancel out the junk. That is simply not how your metabolism works. The Okinawan approach is a holistic biological system, not a standalone magical pill. If you throw a healthy, slow-digesting carbohydrate into a chaotic, inflammatory meal, your digestive system is still completely overwhelmed. The sweet potato cannot save your blood sugar if you are actively poisoning the exact cellular environment it is trying to heal. The third pattern is completely ignoring the volume. Remember the cultural ritual of hara hachi bu, eating until you are only 80% full? The biggest mistake you can make is thinking that just because a food is healthy and low on the glycemic index, you can eat an unlimited, endless amount of it. I fell into this trap for months. I would fill a massive bowl with cold, resistant starch potatoes and eat until I was physically uncomfortable. But here is the biological reality. A healthy carbohydrate is still a carbohydrate. If you stretch your stomach to its absolute physical limit, you are still forcing your digestive tract to process a massive, heavy load of energy all at once. The sheer volume eventually overrides the quality of the food. You absolutely have to respect the boundary of your stomach. The final pattern is simple inconsistency. You eat like an Okinawan elder on Monday, but by Friday you revert to old habits. It requires daily vigilance to protect your metabolic peace. Eat the right staple, respect the ratio, and honor the ritual of eating until you are satisfied, not stuffed. Understanding this ancient dietary foundation is just the first step. If you want to know exactly how to safely incorporate carbohydrates like this back into your daily routine without ever triggering a massive glucose response, you need to watch my previous video on how to eat carbs and prevent sugar spikes. Click the video on the screen right now, and I'll see you over there.